Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. Full Time is presented by the Game Sports Podcast and powered by 91N. You're listening to Season 4, Episode 5 of Full Time. I am your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. Remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi weekly as well. Folks, we welcome you back to Full Time. We are super excited to be able to talk about all things regarding the beautiful game. G, my brother, how goes it?
I'm doing great. Back from vacation, ready to get back into it. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not back from vacation, but doing very well, and life is good for sure. In today's show, we will talk Michael Bradley's and Christine Sinclair's retirements, the Ballon d'Or, Europe's Big Five, the Champions League, the MLS, and local soccer. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast. And without further ado, Gaetano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We begin today's show by addressing two key figures who are departing from the beautiful game. First, it's Michael Bradley, who is retiring after the 2023 MLS season after a 20-year career. The 36-year-old has played in 287 MLS games and holds third in all-time U.S. men's national team caps with 151. After beginning his playing career in 2004, Bradley's journey in football took him a multitude of places and saw him win a multitude of trophies, most notably winning the MLS Cup with Toronto FC back in 2017, which you and I, G, both absolutely love. Bradley is the second most capped Toronto FC player of all time with 308 appearances for the Reds, and incidentally captained Toronto FC for more than 300 games as well. At international level, Bradley featured in two World Cups and won two CONCACAF Gold Cups in 2007 and 2017, 2017 being a very good year for Michael Bradley. Gitano Bradley is a TFC legend and is set to retire after a decorated 20-year career once the season concludes. I know this one hits home for you personally. Tell us your thoughts on this one, G.
Yeah, like the word legend almost doesn't do him justice. He's just for the last decade and a bit been the heartbeat of Toronto Football Club. From on the field, off the field, it felt like he just encapsulated everything the club was and is supposed to be. I don't know what we're gonna do without him. It's just such a massive, massive loss. 308 appearances. The only captain in MLS history to captain a team to a treble. He maybe didn't get the recognition he deserved in his time in Toronto. Giovinco always had kind of the flair. Josie Altidore had the big goals, but Michael Bradley was just the heartbeat of that team. Especially considering when he came in, he was signed alongside Jermaine Defoe, who flopped pretty massively for Toronto. The whole project could have collapsed right then and there when Defoe didn't work out and he wanted out. Like the whole thing could have fell apart. MLSE could have decided they don't want to fund, to the extent that they did. But Michael Bradley, he changed that. He was the guy that they said, instead of kind of putting all of it on Defoe, let's put this all on Bradley. And he ran with it and was just, simply put, he's the greatest captain we could have ever asked for. This was announced weeks ago, and I've had weeks to write my little bit, and I still feel like I just don't have enough words to really describe him. He was just everything. He was just everything for us.
Yeah, and you know what? The first word that comes to mind for me all these years watching Toronto FC, even from when our time in high school, G, it's just he was so selfless. That really is the word that comes to mind. Needed a gap to be filled, Michael Bradley will play it. When there wasn't a center back available, who was going to play it, even though he was a holding midfielder, Bradley would play it. He epitomized everything that you'd want in a captain. Like you said, probably the best thing that could have happened for our club, Toronto FC, and what we wanted out of a captain and a leader. He was a mainstay in the club. It always seemed that he was available. He had like great longevity and great fitness and all of these sorts of things. So he will definitely be missed for Toronto FC, but what he has done is he paved a way ultimately for what a captain should look like, and I think that that's a great thing for Toronto FC. Next, it is the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Christine Sinclair, who has announced her retirement from international play. In her words, you can't play forever, although we wish that she truly could. The 40-year-old is leaving the international game at the end of 2023, marking the end of a remarkable 24-year international career. After 327 career international appearances, she has scored 190 goals, making her the all-time highest goal scorer in international football, male or female. Sinclair is a three-time Olympic medalist and was named Canada Soccer Player of the Year a record 14 times. She was also the first ever soccer player appointed as an Officer of the Order of Canada. Sinclair retires as unquestionably the greatest to ever do it. Gitano, Christine Sinclair epitomizes greatness in every way imaginable. Give us your thoughts on this illustrious career from just a sensational person.
Yeah, so I've always said, I got the chance to see her play for Canada in 2017, and I will always, always, always like talk about that in the same way that I talk about when I got to see Lionel Messi play for Barcelona that summer. She is right up there for me in terms of just pure greatness. 190 goals and 327 appearances is just stupid. Like, just, first of all, like male or female international, like that's a ridiculous goal scoring record. But she did it, and like, in a time where like soccer wasn't a thing in Canada. Like right. she didn't like walk into like this setup where she was designed for her to score all these goals. Like she was trailblazing while also, shattering these records and setting the bar so high. I think this is going to be like my hot take for the episode, but like she's like a top 3 Canadian athlete all time. Like, the record speaks for itself. You look at what she's won, the goals she's scored, the accolades, 327 battles for our country, no less. Like that's not a small feat, plus whatever she's done a ridiculous amount at club level as well. Not discounting that one bit. It's a shame she never really got to play for a Canadian club. Just the way the NWSL works, we don't have one here. But yeah, just simply the greatest Canadian soccer player there will ever be. I don't care. Nobody will ever match her legacy for us.
Yeah, and you know what? It's one of those things, because I thought about it actually from a hockey perspective. You take a look at the records in terms of points that Gretzky has. You talk to a lot of people, they'll say, even though it's like a completely different game to when he played, probably no one's going to touch those point totals. And, maybe that's up for debate. Obviously, you know more about hockey than I do, but it's one of those things that when I look at this from a soccer point of view and I see what Sinclair has done for the women's game, like you said, and I thought that point was so spot on. She came in at a time when soccer was basically nothing in this country, and I don't want to say did it by herself, but she really helped revolutionize the sport in this country. I'm not sure that anyone's ever going to really come close to being what she is or what she has done. So I'm with you on that for sure. She's again, legend doesn't even begin to describe what she's done for Canadian soccer. But yeah, it's been remarkable to watch her play all these years. When you think Canadian soccer, that's the first person you think of, Christine Sinclair. And yeah, what she's done for the sport is, it's unfathomable in so many ways. But so proud to be Canadian. Obviously, you got to watch her play. It's a huge honor. But she's done this country proud and some.
Yeah, and just the fact that she won an Olympic gold medal, like I, as happy as I was for like the team and like the country and that, like I was when she put that Olympic gold medal around her neck, like that was, I've never felt anything like that. It was just, and as much as we loved it for everyone, like just for her. And I know she hates the attention. She hates, that's just who she is. Like Michael Bradley, very selfless, doesn't want that. Just like for like that moment, the whole country was just so happy just for her. And it was just, I'm so glad she finally got that moment.
Me too. And the only shame of that, G, was that there was zero fans there in the stands to be able to see. I remember being in my bedroom upstairs watching it. There wasn't a single fan, but like you said, when that medal got put around the neck, like you couldn't help but smile. Like you just smiled.
Oh, I'll admit I cried. I was at work. I cried. It was happy tears, but like, oh yeah, I wept.
But at least at those times, anyways, you could only see your eyes because your face would have been covered by a mask.
Exactly.
Not so bad. But that was a beautiful moment, and that'll definitely go in the record books and some for Canadian history, not just sport, but Canadian history in general. Shifting just slightly, it's someone who is not retiring from the game, but achieving top honors instead. It's Lionel Messi, who has won his 8th Ballon d'Or as the world's best soccer player. Messi wins the prestigious award on the back of guiding Argentina to a World Cup win in Qatar in 2022. Messi won his first Ballon d'Or back in 2009 and has won it another 7 times since. Messi beat out Manchester City striker Erling Haaland as well as striker Kylian Mbappe of Paris Saint-Germain. They both finished 2nd and 3rd, respectively. The award was presented to Messi by his club owner, David Beckham. Messi wins his 8th Ballon d'Or, an absolutely incredible honor for now the World Cup winner. Give us your thoughts on Messi and the magnitude of this achievement for an 8th time.
I've got a lot of issues with this. Like I don't want to discount Messi's year because obviously the phenomenal World Cup did great things in Paris and finished the season off in MLS. Like I think almost any other year he probably would have won the Ballon d'Or kind of unquestionably. But Erling Haaland, 53 games, 52 goals, 9 assists, Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, Super Cup, Premier League Golden Boot, Champions League Golden Boot, European Golden Shoe, PFA Player of the Year, Young Player of the Season. What more does he have to do to win a Ballon d'Or? What more? Like the Carabao Cup? Like that's the only thing he didn't win. Like is that what separates him and Messi's seasons? Like I as much as I love Messi, I don't get it. I don't get it.
And you know what? I think what's important for people to understand when it comes to this, it is purely judged on a season-to-season basis. Like it's what you do in that particular season, and it's not a discount as to what you said. He won a World Cup. He had an amazing World Cup, but that basically it all discredits everything that Erling Haaland did with Manchester City. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, season from a club in history.
Yeah.
In terms of his individual performance, he basically averaged a goal a game. And then you mentioned all of those accolades in terms of the things that he won. Do you feel, like now that this has happened, I know it's Lionel Messi, so it's hard. Like if it was anybody else, you'd say, okay, that's ridiculous. But do you think that the credibility of the Ballon d'Or has kind of like lessened now because of this?
I think it lessened when they canceled, was it 2021 when Lewandowski should have won it?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's all been downhill since then. Yes, there was COVID, but you still have to like hand that award. There was still the majority of professional seasons were played, and just to decide to not hand it out was just ridiculous. I think it's just kind of all been downhill from there, and this just doesn't help at all.
And you know what? Actually, I do remember in that time I tweeted something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I said something to the effect of Lewandowski got shafted, and really feel hard done by. And I mean, freaking send the thing in the mail if you have to.
Yeah.
Like,
everything else was done over like Zoom and video. Like you could have done it. They could have done it. They just chose not to for whatever reason. And yeah, I've lost a lot of like respect for the Ballon d'Or in that sense. And this is just kind of the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I do remember, being in university studying and being with all my friends at the time every year when the Ballon d'Or was announced, and like we're just glued to it. Was it going to be Messi? Was it going to be Ronaldo? Was there going to be a surprise? And like we were always just so intrigued by it. And it's not to say that I don't care anymore, because of course, like you tune into the socials and you make sure that you watch to see who's going to get it and these sorts of things. But in my opinion too, it has lost its credibility. It doesn't have that same pizzazz as it once did, because it's not that the trophy itself doesn't mean anything anymore. It's still for the world's best footballer that year. But if you're not giving it to the right people or to the deserving person, which I would say probably 95% of people would say that they're on our side for this one, then it definitely loses its touch. So nevertheless, though, Messi winning his 8th Ballon d'Or, and I'm sure that Erling Haaland has one in the not so distant future.
Can I go one more with you here?
Give me it.
Okay. So we're gonna play like a quick little game. I'm gonna read you off 2 player seasons. One of them finished second in the Ballon d'Or voting. One finished 30th. Okay.
Okay.
So treble, Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup. Conceded the fewest goals in the Premier League. 1 goal conceded in the FA Cup. 5 goals conceded in the Champions League. Was player 1. Second one was runner. So it was a Champions League win. No other team trophies, and 12 goals conceded in that tournament. Which one of those players finished second in the Ballon d'Or? Which one of them finished 30th?
The first person that you had mentioned with that would have been the person that finished 30th, I'm going to assume.
Ruben Dias this year. The other season, Virgil van Dijk, runner-up. Make it make sense.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Even as a teacher, I have to try and make things can't on this one, but case in point for what you just said.
Yeah.
This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Pizza. You can download and access the Pizza Portal app for any of the 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Have a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. Folks, it is now time to look at Europe's Big Five. First, we'll have a look at Italy's Serie A. It's Inter who are sitting pretty at the top of the table with 31 points. Behind them is Juventus with 29 points. In third, it's Milan with 23 points, and it's Napoli in fourth with 21 points. Gitano, Inter are off to a fine start here in Serie A as we approach the point in the schedule where it's nearly a third of the way through. What can you make of the happenings in Italy so far?
Yeah, I think Inter have shocked me a little bit. I didn't think they'd be able to hold that form considering the losses they had over the summer, but they've actually been really, really good. I've been lucky enough to watch a couple of their games. Yeah, they're just on fire, but they do play Juve next, so that is a massive test for them. Other than that, I really like how competitive the top half of the table is so far.
Yeah, no, it's really been nice to see. And again, I picked Inter at the beginning of the season just because I thought, even with all the departures in the summer and what have you, I thought that they'd get a lot of things right tactically. And based on what they're doing right now, it certainly seems that way. But Juventus, to your point, Inter surprised you. Juventus has surprised me a little bit. They look really good as well. So I like the competitiveness of Serie A as well. And I think we're in for a good final 2/3 of the season, if you will. Next, it's Spain's La Liga, where we see the biggest of surprises, and that is Girona at the top of the table with 34 points. That lead at the top is narrow, however, as Real Madrid have 32 points in second place. Barcelona have 30 points in third, and it's Atletico Madrid in fourth with 28 points. So, it's a really tight race so far at the top, with spots 1 through 4 basically being separated by 2 points each. But how about the way in which Girona have started this season?
Yeah, it's I don't want to jump to the Leicester thing because that's, I still think that's kind of a once in a lifetime thing. I don't see anyone ever repeating that, but with Leicester, everyone kind of said, they'll fall off eventually. They'll fall off. I think they'll fall off by November. They'll fall off by Christmas. And Girona have been kind of just rolling. They're doing really well. Only the 1 loss, the 1 draw, 11 wins. They're actually playing really nice football. Having watched a few of the games, they're not just getting 1 goal leads and parking the bus for 90 minutes. They're playing really, really nice, attractive, attacking football. I don't want to say that I can see them going all the way. But if, future Gitano were to jump into my room here and say Girona won the league, I wouldn't be overly shocked. They've just been playing so well. And I think once you get that flow and that confidence going, similar to what Leicester did, where you just keep it rolling and they just might do it.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, as you know, playing yourself and coaching and what have you, when you're winning games, it's a little bit easier because you just keep doing what you've been doing. And more times than not, you can keep that flow, to your point, for the word that you said, you can kind of just keep that going. Whereas when you're, losing games, you have to try and get out of that funk. You have to really try and find solutions. But it really seems as though Girona have found a way to your point, to play an attractive style of football. And, when Leicester City won it, years ago, maybe they didn't play the most attractive football, but they had a style in which really worked for them. And game in, game out, they were able to execute that. And once they found that flow, that rhythm, they were able to just keep it going. So how long will this last? I don't know. But the fact that the top four in La Liga is so tight and competitive, it makes the viewership all the better. Out in the Bundesliga, Leverkusen hold a narrow lead at the top of the table with 31 points. It's Bayern who are right on their heels with 29 points. Both teams, we should say, are undefeated in league play thus far. Stuttgart is in third and Leipzig is in fourth. Gee, a good battle at the top of the table right now. Your thoughts on what's occurring out in Germany?
Yeah, it's been, you know, I don't want to, kind of be, what's the word I'm looking for? Like on the nose here, but like two like blitzkrieg offenses leading the league right now. Harry Kane has 17 goals already in the league. Like that,
Man,
that's just in the league.
Right.
He is going to smash every record. He is just, I don't see how they don't win the league, but like he is just unbelievable. And Leverkusen's like they don't have like one specific guy scoring all the goals. Their whole front kind of four or five, they're scoring for fun. It's been so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that actually bodes very well for Liverpool because when you're getting contributions from different places as opposed to just one or two players. I think that bodes really well for your side, scoring goals in a multitude of ways. But to your point about Harry Kane, people are saying he's in the form of his life, albeit he's not playing in the Premier League. But if he's already scored 17 goals, I take a look back. I want to say it was like maybe 2 weeks ago, the goal he scored from inside his own half. Like, that day it was like maybe having like somewhat of an off day, but then all of a sudden like he bangs one from half and it's like not an off day for him.
No.
It's been incredible to see what he's doing. But yeah, Leverkusen playing some good football. I still think that Bayern are going to find their way. But if Harry Kane keeps up this form, I mean, he's going to smash all the records, just like you said. Ligue 1, PSG now found their way to the top of the table 12 games into the season. They have 27 points. Nice are on their heels and have 26 points. And it's Monaco in third with 24 points. Gitano is probably only a matter of time, but PSG are now at the top of the table in Ligue 1. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it seems like they finally, like some of the pieces have started to click a little bit. I still don't think they've played to the best of their abilities. I don't think they'll get there this season. I think they still have a couple more. Probably next year you'll see them like really back kind of that full flow, like the old school, like with like Ibra and Lavezzi and like those guys like just firing on all cylinders. They're not quite there yet, but they have started to like turn the corner. I still think it's going to be a tight race. I don't think they're going to run away with it anytime soon. But I do kind of expect them to stay in kind of one or two spot for the rest of the year.
Oh, for sure. They'll be in the conversation without a doubt to win the title, as you and I both picked at the beginning of the season, and probably most people picked for that matter. But I'm with you. I think next season it's really going to come together and click. Whereas, like in most cases, you need like maybe 3-4 seasons. You take a look at when Klopp came to Liverpool, for example. He's like, give us 4 years, then we'll be there. With PSG, give them a season, and then they're going to be where they want to be just because of the league that they play in. But I agree. By next season, things are going to start to gel and things are really click. And the English Premier League, it's already a proper title race. Gee, it's your Manchester City who are at the top with 28 points. Liverpool and Arsenal are joint second with 27 points. Tottenham are in fourth with 25 points, not 45. Thank God. Aston Villa are in fifth with 25 points, even though manager Unai Emery is discounting the fact that they're top four. A little bit of mind game. Well, it is a super tight race at the top of the table so far as we are on this international break. But what can be said for the Premier League right now?
So I just want to start off by saying it's just so nice to see City back at the top of the table again. It's just, they're always going to be in there, but like when they're sitting at the top, it just feels that little bit sweeter. It's I'm nervous for this title race. I was nervous about last year's. I'm like 10 times more nervous about this year's. It looks like it's going to be a shit show. Pardon the language, but like just the way the season started, we've had some like classic Barclays games, City Chelsea 4-4 over the weekend.
Man, that was the best games I've ever. Man, I tweeted it. I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like that. That was awesome.
just unreal. The Spurs Chelsea game where Spurs were down to 9 men playing the most ridiculously high line. Like it's
At
just
the halfway line.
like it's just been insane, and I love it. And I don't know how it's gonna get crazier for me, but it is.
Exactly. There's going to be so many twists and turns in this plot, and obviously we could talk about for hours the VAR controversy, which we won't get into too much this show really. But there's been so many things so far this season that we are able to look at between VAR, between injuries, between different teams, different managers coming in, different styles of play, different surprises. It's been absolutely incredible. And like you said, this isn't the end. It's in fact just the beginning. So we've got a proper title race. We've got so many teams that are hunting to get into the top four. I'm really loving the look of the Premier League so far. And Arsenal are amongst it at the top of the table as well, similar to last year. So for you and me personally, we both got a battle on our hands. And you know what? I read a quote, actually, you mentioned Virgil van Dijk a little bit earlier in the Ballon d'Or segment of our show. He released a quote just the other day. He's like, he goes, we look like an under 23s team for the types of players we have. But he goes, if we can keep everybody healthy and fit and we don't get injuries, I think we have a chance to win the title. And unfortunately, I think he's right. And Gitano, there's no mention of Manchester United in there. Lost the derby game against your Manchester City the other week. And I got to watch that. That was wow. And it just kind of seems to go from bad to worse for them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, City didn't get out of second gear in that derby. Like it was just incredible to watch, and at Old Trafford too. Like I get it when it's at the Etihad and it's insane, and you have 50, 60,000 like screaming like the whole time, but to go to Old Trafford and just silence them, it felt like they didn't touch the ball. It was just one of my favorite derbies to watch. Maybe not the most exciting in terms of the drama, or, the big goals and scoring, but just for 90 minutes to sit and just watch a Pep Guardiola masterclass in the swamp was just perfect.
It was pure dominance that game, and I believe it was the season prior. Was it the 6-3?
Yes, 6-3 at the Etihad last season. Yeah.
Right, and I thought in that game, despite the fact that City conceded 3 goals, it was almost like not that they gifted United a couple, but I thought that for me was pure dominance. But what they did in this most recent game in the derby, I watched the game start to finish, and I thought to myself, that is what pure dominance truly looks like. And obviously the other day, or the other week, I should say, I sent you that video, which I can't repeat some of the words, but Trafford is falling down, and Ten Hag is, insert word here, clown. So, it's not looking good for Manchester United at all. Are they going to turn it around? Who knows?
No.
But
No.
there. Again, we could talk on VAR for hours, but we could talk on Manchester United for even more hours because they've got more issues than a horse has hair. So it ain't good for them over there. But you're not bothered as a City fan. I'm not bothered as an Arsenal fan. And I don't think too many other sets of fans are bothered either.
I think the Glazers and Ten Hag should stay for another 10 years.
I'm in for that. I accept that, and I think most people would too. At the bottom of the table, it is 3 promoted sides from the Championship who are in the drop zone. Sheffield and Burnley are all struggling at this moment in time. See, between these 3 teams, they've only accumulated a total of 15 points. How big of a struggle has it been for all 3 of these sides?
Yeah, it's been rough. I can't remember the last time the 3 promoted clubs have struggled like this hard. I've seen them, they've stayed kind of in that area of the table for most of the season, but kind of up and down. This has just been straight misery for them, and it's not looking great. I love Burnley. I love Vincent Kompany. I thought they played phenomenal last year in the Championship, but as the weeks go on and it's kind of not getting there, I'm starting to really, really worry about them.
Me too. And, you and I have both been saying for months, actually, that we feel like something eventually is going to click with Burnley. I actually said in one of our shows, I said, give it about 10 to 12 games and it's going to click. Well, it hasn't. And yeah. I'm not going to retract what I said, in terms of them staying up, because I still believe that they will. They'll find a way. But they're already talking about, from a club perspective with Burnley, even if they have to go down, they're okay with that because they believe Vincent Kompany is the one to instill what needs to be instilled, get them back up, and actually be a challenging team mid-table. But when it comes to Sheffield, United when it comes to Luton Town. I know Luton Town the other week there, they pulled off that 1-1 against Liverpool. That was a really exciting game to watch, but it's just not happening for them. And it almost seems like the three teams that came up this year might just be the three teams that go back down at the end of the season. Would you say that that's fair to say?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against that at this point of the year for sure.
Well, Jay, we're going to move things along, and it is the Champions League that has kept us on our heels, just like those teams in the bottom three. And not only has it kept us on our heels, it's kept us on our toes, and everything else in between. The Champions League has been a great deal of fun to watch. In Group A, Bayern claimed top spot already with 2 games to spare. It's Copenhagen, Galatasaray, and Manchester United who will battle for the second and final position. We talked about them just a moment ago, but you've got to wonder if Manchester United's fortunes will change anytime soon. Who looks the favorite to get out of this group in that final spot?
Not United. They've just been terrible. like, and I get sometimes you know, especially in Europe, you know, you play a smaller team, you know, in their home stadium and they get that one goal they need and get the result. Like, it happens, you know. I've seen Celtic lose to Barcelona. You know, it's things have happened, but like, United went to Copenhagen and got slapped. Like you can't be getting slapped by Copenhagen if you're Manchester United. Like, they're just not good. Between Copenhagen and Galatasaray though is a real toss-up. I think they're both kind of pretty evenly matched. They both have a little bit of firepower up front for each of them. I'm going to lean Galatasaray because they have a little bit more European experience in that squad, so I kind of think they'll get it over the line. And finish second to Bayern.
Yeah, I think it's a fair pick. And to your point about Manchester United, I mean, I've got so many friends, and I know you do too, and people that you just know in general that are Manchester United fans, because obviously it is still one of the biggest clubs in the world and historic and all these sorts of things. But, you know, one of the things one of my friends said the other day, we went out for a drink after our soccer game, and I said, you know, what's going on, man, honestly? And he said, you know what? He goes, I have to say this. He goes, and it might be a little bit unpopular, but he said, people have to stop blaming Ten Hag. He goes, you can blame the Glazers all you want, and that's right, and that's fair. He goes, but at some point it has to fall onto the players. Like, these are players who are paid a ton of money to go out and perform. And in the Champions League, in the Premier League, they're just not doing it. In cup competition, they're just not doing it. So he was saying, you know what? The players have to actually shoulder a lot of this blame. And I tend to agree with him. Do you think that was a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'm gonna quick tangent here. I promise it'll wrap into this like perfectly. So I was watching a documentary a few weeks ago about it was a podcast. They were talking about like players in the 90s and basically saying guys like Ronaldinho and Zinedine Zidane wouldn't make it in today's game because as great as an individual talent as they were, in today's game, you have to be like a team player. You have to do your marking, your running, your defensive work, and like they would get lost in academies, right? Like they wouldn't be the guy that maybe gets through. But in the 90s, that's kind of how soccer worked. Was you could just pick out individual players, and their individual brilliance, and maybe not a great team could win you games. And United got a lot of success in that time period through kind of individual players' brilliance,
right?
Which is fair. But they still don't have a department of football at United. It is still run by like the Glazers, and then it goes directly to Ten Hag. They had Ragnick in there for 6 months. He called them out in the media for how bad they were running the club, and he got fired for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like United have just they've kept that mindset of we'll just pick individual players out, stick them in a team, and it's going to work because he's a great right back, he's a great left back, he's a great midfielder, he's a great this, instead of trying to build like an actual functioning squad. So yeah, I think part of it is the players have to realize that, that isn't going to work. They have to, at some point, like kind of bond as a team and be a sort of like, you see, like, I know Arsenal, guys like Zinchenko, like where they unite the room and everyone's like going to battle together. City, same thing. Like they're a team. United's never, like in the past decades, never been a team. It's been Pogba and Sancho and this guy and that guy and this guy. It's never been United. It's always been individuals. So yeah, I think at some level they need someone to come in there first of all as a player and kind of unite that room. They need a Michael Bradley to come in there and center that group. But yeah, I think the players are at fault. I think Ten Hag's at fault. I think the Glazers are at fault, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, long may it continue. You're absolutely right. But yeah, you make so many good points there, and I am fully on board with what you're saying. Like, it is a team game today, and like you need 11 functioning individuals together to make the wheels turn. So I don't want to say the dollar amount because I could be wrong, but I think Anthony was paid somewhere in the region of 60 to 80 million or something like that.
So I want to say it was in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you can't have that and then him doing what he's doing. Like it doesn't make any sense at any level in any sport anywhere. So yeah, like United are in more trouble than I could ever imagine in my lifetime. But even take a look at a team like Tottenham, who I mean, it's been Son and Harry Kane for years, whereas now like Postecoglou's come in and they look more of a team than United do.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, Tottenham were always, yes, they were like the Kane and Son team, but like they always at least had like some sort of like spine and backbone. It
Yeah,
maybe wasn't the best at times, but like there was at least like a functioning like leadership hierarchy within the players. Like things kind of made sense there. And yes, they were super reliant on Kane and Son, but like there was at least like some level of just like organization and commitment to the badge. Like that's really what it comes down to.
right.
Um,
So
just
there was that uniform. There is or
exactly.
uniformity there, right?
Yeah, and like the results on the pitch might not have matched up with that, and that's fine. Some not everyone can win everything every year, right? It's what happens. But yeah, like United basically since Fergie left have just it feels like they're not playing for the club anymore. It feels like you go there to get a payday. What did Pogba do in his like time back there? Yes, they won a Europa League, but like, is that what you paid 90 million pounds for, and however many hundreds of thousands of pounds a week for? Like, no, it's just not. And it's yeah, we could do this for hours. I don't want to do this for hours, but yeah, they're just a mess at every level. The fans, the players, the management, like everyone's a mess right now.
And you know what? People have been talking about it for years, but ain't nobody want to listen. Mourinho talked about it. Ragnick talked about it. Ronaldo talked about it. Nobody wants to listen. And we'll just end on this one here before we go to Group B in the Champions League. When you hear the word United, everyone assumes Manchester United, and rightly so. But United are anything but United at this moment in time.
That was like really, really good, Scarps. I like that.
Arsenal are top of Group B with PSV and Lens tied with 5 points apiece. G, Arsenal are looking pretty comfortable to win this group, I would say. Do you share the same opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, I'm not going to say they absolutely will because there's mathematical chance that they don't, but they should be winning the group at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then in terms of who might come second uh, between PSV and Lens, it's for me it's a toss up. I think both teams actually when they played Arsenal, in my opinion, they look pretty good. But yeah, I think Arsenal should top that group no problem. In Group C, Real Madrid are through with 2 games to spare, and it's Napoli who have 7 points in second. G, do you think that this group's just going to stay the way that it is standings wise for the top two?
Yeah, for the top two for sure. Maybe Union Berlin, slips into the Europa League, but that's kind of lesser consequence. Yeah, Napoli and Real Madrid should be going through.
Yeah, I agree with that. The top two will likely stay as is, just the total points accumulated and the quality of the teams. I think that's what we'll be seeing moving through. In Group D, Real Sociedad and Inter both have 10 points and will battle for top honors despite both going through to the knockout phase. How fascinating have these two teams been in this Group G?
This whole group's actually been it was like 4 really fun teams, like very even in terms of their level. Yeah, Sociedad have been looked great, even losing David Silva to that ACL injury at the beginning of the season, have been flying. Inter, like we talked about, running the gauntlet in Serie A right now, still looking great in Europe. I couldn't pick a winner of this group between the two of them. I think it could go either way. They're both like super even quality, but yeah, it's been a phenomenal group.
Yeah, that has been a lot of fun to see, and I think what in terms of Sociedad and Inter now they have that sort of leeway where you're not going to do a whole squad rotation because you still want to try and top the group, but if you want to tinker with the squad a little bit, you now have that leeway because at least you're going through in either position 1 or 2. Group E is tight with Atletico in first with 8 points, Lazio in second with 7, and Feyenoord in third with 6. Gee, is this the most competitive group in the Champions League right now?
I think so. Not obviously just in terms of like points, but also just in terms of the levels of the team. There's not a clear dominant favorite. We've seen Atletico be really good in the past few years. We've also seen them be pretty bad. So I think their level's kind of somewhere in the middle there. Lazio and Feyenoord can both definitely qualify for this. It might shock me a little bit if Atletico didn't, but like it wouldn't be the end of the world. Like it wouldn't be like, oh my god, like how did that happen? If they were to fall into the Europa League, and other than Celtic, who just unfortunately have to be in that group, like even then they played like okay. It's just they've not been able to get the results they need.
Yeah, and you know what? Like from my philosophy as a coach, been doing it competitively for 13 years. I believe in defending first, and good teams are built from back to front. So you start with your goalkeeper, and then you have to build a base at the back, and you have to have a healthy spine in your team, and these sorts of things. Which is why I still think like Atletico will go through because they have a very similar philosophy, and they defend first, they defend like hell, and they will manage to get a goal or two when needed. So I think that they'll definitely go through. And then that second spot, I think it's a toss-up. Lazio, in my opinion, probably will go through, but I could see Feyenoord getting in there too. So I definitely like the competitive aspect of that group. Group F appears to be pretty competitive also, G, with Dortmund holding a narrow lead over PSG at the top by just a single point. Milan are in third, but with just 1 point less than the second place PSG. Gitano, the margins, it seems, again, in this group are pretty paper thin. How great has this group been to watch?
This group has been just absolutely insane. Nobody had Dortmund topping the group at this point. No, a lot of people didn't have Dortmund winning games in this group, let alone topping it. It's just been chaos, and I love it. It's exactly what I want from the Champions League, is four of the best teams in Europe just absolutely slugging it out. It's been phenomenal.
Yep, and I have to hold my hand up and say, you know what? I was one of the ones that said that Dortmund would probably finish third or fourth in this group.
Same.
Yeah. So I mean, time will tell, but the competitiveness again, just being able to see this, even if you have to just catch the short end or the shortened highlight version of the games if they're played during the day, it's been phenomenal to see. In Group G, it's your Manchester City Gitano who are through to the next round with 2 games to spare. RB Leipzig are also through with their 9 points. It's as we expected, but just how impressed have you been with not only your team, Gitano, but Leipzig as well?
Leipzig are so good all the time. And like it's incredible because they're kind of seen as like a talent factory team where it's like you develop 1 or 2 good players and then you sell them for loads of money and then kind of restart. So for them to kind of always be maybe not the best team in Germany, but one of the best teams in Germany while having that philosophy of, developing young players and selling them, it's just been phenomenal to watch over the last few years. And yeah, they are just, that team is so good. Danny Olmo is just if he was signed for City, I would not be upset. Let's put it that way.
Now, I could be wrong on this, and maybe you have the answer. Is he half Spanish, half Croatian? Is he?
I think so. I know he represents Spain on the national level for sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's Croatian or somewhere like some Eastern European, like, I don't want to say it's Croatian.
Yeah, I thought he had sort of not split loyalties, but like half being Spanish and then half being something else. So yeah, no, they're fantastic. And my favorite for Leipzig is I forget where I heard it one time, but somebody said that they were Southampton on extreme steroids.
Yeah, like that's like really accurate.
Yeah, and I forget where I heard it from. I wish I could remember, but I thought, yeah, that's a really good way to describe them because they always seem to do well year in, year out. And in Group H, it's a good battle occurring between Barcelona, Porto, and Shakhtar Donetsk, who are all battling for positions 1 and 2. Gee, what do you foresee happening here in this group?
So I'm going to go bold here and say Royal Antwerp finish bottom. For real though, Barcelona have looked really, really good. I didn't expect them to be doing this well under Xavi so soon. I expected it maybe next year, the year after, but they're, I don't want to say they're back to the old Barcelona, but they're definitely well on their way to getting back there. And then between Porto and Donetsk, I think it could go either way. I'm just going to lean Porto simply because they have the points advantage in the group now, and I think they probably will be able to do enough to get through.
Yeah, I'm going to also take those two, and I'm with you in the sense that Barcelona are on their way. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get back that Barcelona of old, or really to just have like sort of shadows, if you will, of what it really used to look like, but they are well on their way, and Xavi's doing a fantastic job there. It's now or never, as they say, and they're definitely using that phrase in the MLS as we speak. The MLS playoffs are at its peak with the Cup Conference semifinal games imminent. Gitano, we've got 4 really exciting matches on the horizon. How pumped are you for these games coming up Saturday and Sunday evening?
I'm super excited about it. I'm also just super excited that I don't have to sit in BMO Field in the middle of December because as fun as it wasn't great in terms of conditions. But for the games themselves, so fired up. This is just the best time of year to be an MLS fan.
Definitely, and I'm really looking forward to, of course for Sunday night too, but looking forward to Saturday night, just kicking back, having a beverage and watching these games, and hopefully going to be some great ones, and we'll cover these games here and now, and we'll make our picks. First, it's going to be Orlando City and Columbus. Gaetano, who do you got?
I'm going to take the Columbus Crew. As much as it pains me as a TFC fan, I think they've just got a little more. The team as a whole, I think, is just slightly better than Orlando.
Yeah, and I like that pick as well. And God rest his soul, Scott. He always used to say to me, "No, Daniel, I really got to get in to MLS a lot more." He goes, "I got to pick a team." He goes, "I know that you're a huge Toronto FC fan." He goes, "I got to pick one." So then finally, it's about a year and a half, 2 years. No, about 2-ish years ago, he said, "You know what? I'm gonna go Columbus Crew." And sure enough, they're in this. So I'm going Columbus Crew as well. I hope that they get it done for that reason alone. Next, it's Cincinnati and Philadelphia. G, who wins this one?
I think Cincinnati are going to just edge this one out. I think it's going to be probably, of the 4 games, probably the closest one.
Yep, and Cincinnati have had a phenomenal season, and I also think that they will win it. The Houston Dynamo take on Sporting KC. G, it's a tough one to call this, but who are you taking?
Leaning Sporting KC on this one. Just a gut feeling.
Gut feeling, and I have a gut feeling that it's just going to go the other way. So I'm taking the Dynamo, and it probably will come down to fine margins in that one. And it's the Seattle Sounders against LAFC. Splitting hairs on this one, brother. What do you got?
LAFC, simply because I'm not allowed to say what I truly feel about Seattle Sounders on the podcast, but I'm pretty sure you understand exactly what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, which is why it's me to say that I actually believe that Seattle's going to win, but I hope with every morsel of sporting integrity that I have in my body that LAFC wins. So we agree on the first 2, we disagree on the next 2, but it's going to be a fun weekend of footy in the MLS. A reminder to our listeners that Cup Conference semifinal action in the MLS takes place next Saturday and Sunday evening on your local television sports network. And it is time for local soccer, and we'll provide an update for all of you here on Full Time. The OUA and OCAA seasons have officially concluded since our last show this past week. The national finals at OCAA and OUA level respectively concluded. Algoma University, having competed yet again in another OUA season, saw some notable improvements, particularly on the men's side of things. At college level, Sioux College saw some decent action in their OCAA campaign. Gee, it's another season that has come to a close. What can you say for both of our schools here locally and some of the talent that we got to see come from not just across the province, but some of the best talent to come across the country?
Yeah, just speaking on our 2 schools, like every year they seem to be getting better and better. I know they had some rough starts, when you were playing, when my sister was playing, like it wasn't always the easiest times and not always the best results, but it's great to see them, like the programs, taking those steps every year, getting better and better. The players that are attracting, like the colleges and university are attracting, are getting better and better. And then obviously, having some of the best players in the country playing in our backyard, it's always special.
Yeah, for sure. And, in those days that you're referring to, when I played and your sister played, the first 2 years when we were playing against D2 and D3 teams from the States, and then some of the college teams were like, oh, this is great because this is our level. And it'd be great if we could stay here and keep winning games and getting draws and even the games that we lose being super competitive. But then it was like, okay, well, we're a university. We got to take this next step. We got to go to the next level. And it was a case of when we got there, it was like, whoa, you go from being one of the best players on the pitch with OCAA schools and NCAA 2 and 3 schools to being just somebody who blends in with everybody else, and you're losing games by a huge margin. Whereas now, you got the university teams, and I can only speak on the university for now anyways, that are, competitive in every single game that they play, even though the results might not be where we want to yet. competitive and keeping games close and being in games, and teams coming up here, for example, and not just, okay, we'll come and collect 3 points or 6 points. It's, wow, I'm coming up here, I'm getting a game, and I've been involved in a game today. So it's great to see the improvement. And even on the Sioux College side of things, at least the structure and the organization there is absolutely there. Talks now, and there's been a report in our local paper of them getting a turf facility. So
Lovely.
yeah, a lot of good things happening in Sault Ste. Marie on the college and university front. And of course, in indoor soccer, it is alive, good, and well here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, even though, and not mad to see it, there's not any storm. Game, it went, but it will soon be back. The women's games in the Sioux take place Sunday, on Sunday evenings, rather. Men's on Monday and Tuesday evenings, and youth soccer actually takes place from Monday to Friday on our indoor fields at the Northern Community Center here in the Sioux. And it's so nice to see so many happy faces at the indoor facility. G, how has your season been, just to get things started off for you?
Start of the season's been good. Coming back from a nasty injury, haven't had any issues with that. Kind of back to 100% health, which is good. Managed to snag my 1 goal for the season nice and early. I don't like chasing it late in the season. That's always like the worst feeling. It's been like, oh, I've got like 6 games to get my 1 goal for the year, so it's nice to get it out of the way. The team's looking good, looking nice and competitive. Defense has been great, keeping a bunch of clean sheets. So yeah, it's been a hell of a start for us. How about you?
I'm glad to hear that it's been a hell of a start for you guys, and I figured that it would be. And on our side of things, it's been a great start as well. 4 games, 4 victories. We've been playing some really nice football. We got to play last night. Had a really, really good performance against actually your former club from the summer. So yeah, it's been a great start to the season, and yeah, we've been having a heck of a lot of fun. So long may it continue, and yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season, and we'll keep everyone updated here on Full Time as things progress. As always, games are played, as I mentioned, every night of the week at the NCC in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, with the exception of Saturdays. Get out to watch some local youth, women's, and men's soccer here in the Sioux. Again, that's at the Northern Community Center in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. You can download and access the Pizza Portal app for any of the 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Have a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we close out today's show, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to each of you for being with us. Unwavering support is more than we can ask for. G, as always, this has been a pleasure, my friend.
The pleasure is always mine, Scarps. There's very few things in this world I love more than doing this podcast with you. So again, thank you for having me. Can't wait to do it next time.
Definitely, and the feeling is very much shared, my friend. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of December 4th, 2023. So this is going to be the last international break for a while, so we'll have more consistent uploads, which is going to bode well not only for us, but of course for our viewership. In that show, we will talk Europe's Big Five, the MLS, and the Champions League. As always, we will keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms, both the Game Sports Podcast and 91N, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Podbean. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Game Sports Podcast and 91N. Best always.